Thomas Brydone, the innovative businessman who transformed New Zealand farming's economic future. Thomas Brydone is one of Pioneer Otago's great Scottish-born entrepreneurs. He was responsible for agricultural and pastoral development across the province on a grand scale. Born in West Linton in Peeblesshire in 1837, Thomas was the son of a shepherd who moved his family from place to place around Scotland until eventually he became a substantial farmer. And as a young man, Thomas was educated here at the famous Perth Academy, one of the oldest secondary schools in Scotland. He then worked for various major Scottish landowners, learning estate management. These roles taught him much about land development and the scientific approaches to farming with which Britain was then leading the world. In 1868, he was sent out to superintend the Otago land holdings of a Scottish conglomerate, the New Zealand and Australian Land Company. Now, this company owned vast areas of land across Otago and Southland, but it wasn't being farmed profitably. But by the application of modern farming practices, Thomas Brydone quickly turned things around to the satisfaction of the shareholders back in Scotland. 9 years later, the company amalgamated with the Canterbury and Otago Association, managed by William Salthour Davison. Their vast estates dominated the southern landscape in the late 19th century, and the combined company became the largest sheep farmer in New Zealand. In 1878, Brydone was appointed superintendent of the combined entity here in New Zealand, while Davison became its general manager in Britain. The two men were to prove a formidable partnership. In 1881, they pioneered the shipment of frozen meat from New Zealand to Britain. Brydone was responsible for preparing the stock in New Zealand, building slaughtering facilities here at Totara Estate near Oamaru. The sheep carcasses were then prepared here at Totara, loaded onto a freight train at the estate siding, and then railed through to Port Chalmers. In early 1882, the inaugural shipment was successfully transported to London on board the Dunedin, a ship that had been specially decked out with refrigeration equipment. A bold and risky experiment had paid off. This watershed event transformed the outlook for farming in New Zealand by creating a market for sheep meat. It established an economic pathway for the country based on primary produce that was followed for decades. The importance that Thomas played in establishing this new economic model is remembered today by this monument to Brydone atop Sebastopol Hill beside Totara Estate in North Otago. In the same year as the first shipment of frozen meat, Brydone was also responsible for the development of New Zealand's first dairy factory here at Edinburgh in Southland for the export of cheese and butter. The company's extensive land holdings in this area had hitherto proved unprofitable for either sheep or cropping, but by adding lime and other fertilisers, Brydone developed it into some of the best pasture land in New Zealand and showed the potential for large-scale dairy production. And here it is, still going today. Brydone never married, devoting himself to business and the agricultural and pastoral development of his adopted country. He became ill in 1904 and returned to Britain for expert medical advice. Unfortunately, this legend of New Zealand agriculture died in London shortly after his arrival, and his body was brought back here to Scotland and buried in the Blair Athol churchyard here with his parents. Meanwhile, back at the Edendale factory, there is a memorial plaque that captures something of his lifelong dedication to industry with these words: He filled the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run.